Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Darren Frye, Water Street Solutions. Grains all ending lower on Friday, mixed to higher over in the livestock futures. Darren, let's start off in the grains. We did see pressure, some double-digit losses, especially wheat feels like it's the anchor, but was a lot of this fund and technical selling pressure?
Yeah, I really think so. We saw some technical buying yesterday on Thursday, and we held some support levels, and it really rallied strong. But today, especially in the soybean complex, they took all of that away, or pretty much all of it. Now, soybean meal did bounce back. I think wheat maybe tried to find a bottom today. We'll see what happens next week. Corn held up pretty good. It was the soybeans and the bean oil that ended up down the hardest at the end of the day.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. We held support today, but do we hold it going into the WASDE report next week? And we're watching weather, I'm sure, but
Yeah, I think that'll be a big part of it. We're going to look forward to the crop conditions that'll come out on Monday, and we'll also have another 2 days of weather here over the weekend. And there's a lot of forecasters that are talking about this hotter weather, this dome of heat coming in sooner. They were talking June 25th to July 1st. Now, a lot of them have moved that up in the June 15th, June 20th timeframe. I think if we see that consistent as we come in here Sunday into Monday, that could have the funds maybe a little bit nervous as we begin a new week. So the WASDE is also something people will be trying to square up ahead of. And I do think that could be supportive, that WASDE could be somewhat supportive for corn, more so than maybe soybeans. But, we'll have South American updates, and obviously they'll tweak our balance sheets as well on Wednesday.
And are you more optimistic about the ending stocks going down on corn just because demand has been so much better there and it's not very good for soybeans on the export side?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've seen a very good grind for ethanol, although domestic use might be a little bit lower because gasoline use is down. Around the world, that's not the case. And we've been exporting a lot of ethanol with rising FOB prices in Brazil. So we've been really competitive there. And then, of course, we've been exporting way more corn than we need to hit the USDA number. This week, for example, I think we're about 35 million over what we needed to do. We needed to do about 11 a week, and we did 46. So I think they're going to have to adjust a few of those numbers in the balance sheet. And I think earnings stocks will be trimmed a little bit from this just over 2 billion, maybe eventually get down closer to the 1.9 level by the end of summer.
Yeah. It really felt this week, Darren, like wheat was kind of the anchor on the market. Was that just a correction that we're seeing because we had such a run up in the month of May? Or was there more to it, especially when we talk about, even Turkey banning imports on Friday?
Yeah, I think you got it right on. I think there was a lot of things going on technically. You go back 2 or 3 weeks, we're probably overbought. We needed a correction. I was thinking we would have a correction like in Chicago wheat down to about 650, but we got down cheaper than that. Didn't do any chart damage, but obviously we got down to about 620, 618, something like that for a low. And I think that if you weigh in what happened late on Thursday with Turkey banning imports from June 21st to October 15th, that's a big deal. Is there a milling country, 10 million metric tons of imports from Russia and biggest client of Russia. And obviously that's a big deal. Now, I don't know why they do that. Typically it's to help the farmer, I know, but I don't know why they did it this year, given how small the Russian crop might end up being. But obviously that added to the fodder to the downside. And I think we maybe found a bottom day. We'll see. We got to have action that takes us higher on Monday. But a combination of things, including harvest all over the Northern Hemisphere, have helped to make wheat prices go into those lows that we saw today.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think you can hold the lows, though, considering we do have harvest that's expanding, and it sounds like some of these early yields are better than expected?
Yeah, some of the yields are better than expected, and we'll just have to see. I know we're into a good support area, and if we don't hold them, then we could have some real chart damage done. But I'm kind of looking up longer term. I still think we need one more move higher to complete the sequence on the chart. And I think the Russian crop is more like 77, 78, headed to 75. They've had some scattered showers here over the last day or two, but they're not much precip, and they're going to remain really hot and really with a stagnant type of weather system. So I just don't see any relief there. And I think a guy has to be a little bit concerned about summer row crops starting out in Ukraine if indeed they have 30 more days of this.
We also had a higher dollar on Friday. Did that also pressure the grain trade?
I think so. You know, we came out with the non-farm payroll jobs, and they were much higher, about 50,000 more than people were expecting. And as a result, we saw the dollar up really strong. It was up 80 cents or so. And then, of course, bonds got pummeled, and gold and silver. Silver is down $2, gold down $70. And so all these markets kind of reversed once everybody saw that number and digested it at 7:30. And I think that weighed on the grain some. And that's why corn and even bean meal had a pretty decent performance today because they hardly close lower on the day. Not so with beans or bean oil, but wheat maybe scored a bottom, and corn and bean meal did pretty good.
Grains, do you think that the funds are reestablishing their short positions there in all three of these grains?
Well, I don't know about wheat, but they're trying to in corn and beans, and we'll see. We'll get another COT report later today, but they really are pressing things again this week on the short side. So it kind of seems strange to me as we go into maybe what could be a more problematic weather pattern. A lot of guys are saying that. Maybe everybody's wrong that's saying that, but they seem to have no fear, and they continue to sell into this on every rally.
Right. It almost feels like a rain makes grain mentality, though, until we get to that hot, dry weather. Because, that's farther out there. Does the market feel like, hey, you got to prove that to me? Or,
Yeah, maybe it's that, and we have had a lot of rain. We've erased the drought concerns for sure. If you take a look at all the drought monitors and the gray soil maps, the last 6 weeks has done a number on reducing drought concerns. I would say, if anything, some of the crop has sat in saturated soils too long. We'll have some pond holes. We'll have some late planting, some replants, some things that probably take away from having a 181 or higher crop. But we know that moisture, ample moisture, is going to make a big crop. The question will be is how hot we get with this weather pattern. If we get hot in July, especially the nights, obviously that will hurt corn more so than just not having enough moisture. Cool with drier conditions is probably better than hot with moisture, because heat is really the detriment to the corn plant, especially at night.
let's move over to the cattle market. We were higher on feeders on Friday, obviously, with the lower corn. Live cattle futures mixed. And do you feel like that market is kind of in consolidation mode here? I know we're under cash, but the market just can't seem to take off because every time we do, you get bird flu news.
Yeah, there's a number of things going on there. But if you go back and look at the last 6 or 8 months of trade, we've really been trading sideways. And a lot of times we think that there's only two kinds of trends, up and down, but there's always a sideways. There's also a sideways trend. And that's what we've been doing in cattle and feeder cattle. And you can see that we're making a huge contracting triangle. And I do think we'll break out. I still am more friendly than negative, and I think that'll be to the upside. But seasonals don't kick in cattle until the end of August, beginning of September. And I think until then, we're just marking time, trading sideways. And we have some nice ups to sell and some nice downs to buy. But it's been a pretty wide trading range, but typically sideways over the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. And obviously, cash has been at a premium to the futures. Did those kind of deviate together in the middle? It doesn't feel like the cash has really pulled the futures up.
A lot of these markets just don't make any sense from what they used to trade like with cash markets. You've seen that in the grains too with inversions. That doesn't mean that you're going to go up. It might mean that you're going to go down, even though grains are inverted. And the same thing in the cattle market. We've seen the packers not be able to break the cash as much as they wanted here over the last few weeks. And obviously, the futures were going down, 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 and really didn't respond to the steady cash. So there seems to be a disconnect in a lot of these markets, and it kind of, I don't know if it's the algorithms, the money flow, but some of these things are completely ignored on the fundamental side.
Mhm. So more new lows for the move in the hog market before finally bouncing. We're ending mostly higher here on Friday. Do you think this is just a little short covering going into the weekend, or can we build on this now? Are we trying to put a low in?
We're going to try to put a low in. I've been looking for a low over the last couple of days, but we've made new lows each day, and I am looking for a low for a bounce, and that bounce could be $6-8 in hogs, but that bounce will be for selling. But I do think that we'll stop the bleeding here and get a bounce here as we move into the next couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Darren Frye, Water Street Solutions. That is Markets Now.